After choosing empowerment over dread, I began searching for meaningful and effective solutions to put into practice in my own life. Progressive Hedonist is a podcast to share the ways we can take on climate change through food and joy. On days when this seems completely impossible, this podcast is a reminder that each of us can make an impact. I'm Dana Cowan. Join me in conversations with thought leaders like Alice Waters, Andrew Zimmern, Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, and more. We can learn together what is possible. You can listen anywhere podcasts can be found and join the conversation on Instagram at progressive_hedonist.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
There are a lot of things to love about Palomo Mezcal Artisanal. My friend, Carlos Mendez Blas, makes Palomo Mezcal by cooking his agaves underground, milling those cooked agaves with a horse-pulled stone wheel, fermenting that in open-air wooden barrels and distilling it in wood-fired copper pot stills, the same way his great-great-grandparents made it more than a century ago. You'll also love it because it tastes like it was made more than a century ago. It tastes like history. So reach back in time and grab a bottle of Palomo Mezcal Artisanal. Great in cocktails, great on its own. I'm Lou Bank.
And I'm Marissa Paragano, a.k.a. the Tequila Encyclopedia.
And this is Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps green kicks bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. Now, Marissa, you and I were just traveling through Jalisco together, right?
Correct.
And we had way too much time to talk to each other. We didn't spend a lot of it attacking each other, really.
Well, nah.
Not a lot of it. There was really only one point that comes to my, well, 2 points, but the second one we're not going to have the conversation around. But one point that comes to my mind where we disagreed, and I told you to put a pin in it because I saw this as a potential episode.
Yes. And the fact that we only disagreed, like, to that extent is pretty incredible since we watched the presidential debate together.
Oh my God. Yeah. yeah. Very, very fair. Which, you know, and if you take that from the 30,000 foot view, I'd say these days was it 4 of us? Yeah, 4 of us in the car to get along so well without any kind of conflicts. I think that's, I think we should all just get all of the Yankees, because I don't call us Americans since they're also Americans in both Mexico and Canada, all of the Yankees in a car and travel through Mexico, and then we'll all get along.
Truly. And I think also a lot of it's listening to listen and not listening to disagree.
Yeah.
And the internet makes it so easy to listen to disagree. And so that's why it was really cool. I mean, I knew I was trapped in a car, my life in your hands, so I had to listen to have a conversation if I wanted to see another day or mile.
I didn't think about that. I guess so long as I had control of the wheel, you were sort of under my thumb.
And you're not anymore, baby, so let's get it going.
Right. Okay. So the point at which you and I started to bicker, I'll say, friendly bicker, but bicker, was when you had suggested that companies could stop using the term tequila, and I don't think we said mezcal, but I'm going to add mezcal in there, for their brands and just call it agave spirit, and it won't make any difference to their sales.
Long term, no. Yes, I agree with that. That is my thesis.
Okay, when you say long term, I don't remember that being part of it. So why are you stipulating long term?
Well, because someone told me to put a pin in it before I had the chance to say long term. But all kidding aside, I do think the reason long term is much like, puberty. There's some growing pains. Mm-hmm. But on a macro level, the trend that I've noticed over the past few years in particular is a lot of places are starting to label their tequila list as their agave list. A lot of people are looking for 100% agave on labels. And there's just a macro level trend where the awareness of what agave is has grown significantly.
Gosh, I get all of that, and I get so excited too, frankly, when I see the agave list on a menu, because that feels just so much more inclusive to me. Not simply adding mezcal, but then you'll also see your Bacanora, Raicilla, and then ironically you'll see Sotol on that list, which is not agave.
Different battle, yeah.
Right, but hey, you know what? As long as people are talking about all of that as, in essence, one kind of thing, I'm happy. But I feel like we're never going to get to that place where, I think short term there's pain, but I think long term, well, I shouldn't say never. In 1,000 years, maybe we're there, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you, if you ever take a law school exam, the LSAT, the entrance exam, you'll know never use infinitives, always avoid them, right?
Never and always, yes.
Never and always, baby. But truly, I think there's two pressure points here. One is the supply side and one's the demand side. So the demand side is the consumer. The consumer obviously is demanding tequila. Tequila's growing. Mezcal has a bit of a reputation of being smoky, which, as you and I both know, is not necessarily always true. But the consumer side is demanding tequila. It's outpacing vodka. It's outpacing whiskey. It's like growing significantly. That's one side. The other side is the supply side. And agave prices are really inexpensive right now. And we're on pace to have a new brand of tequila join every single day of the year. So literally every day this year, we are on pace to have a new brand of tequila, 2,000 plus brands of tequila in the industry. They're not all going to make it. One of the issues and one of the headwinds that I think tequila faces is the fact that the regulatory body of tequila, the CRT, does not necessarily have a ton of transparency behind it. And there's a lot of different reasons for that. I'm not criticizing the CRT, but there's been a few brands particularly that have decided to go against that and just sort of go on their own. A few that come to mind are like Caballito Cerrero said, you know what? We don't need your word tequila. People know we exist. Enthusiasts will still trip over themselves to buy our product. And they're an example of a brand that doesn't need the word tequila. Bring it a step further, and I co-host a weekly agave show called the Tequila Ladies. And last December, we did an entire month featuring California agave spirits. And they're making some pretty incredible stuff out there. Is it ready yet? Well, some of the farmers are doing some really incredible work, but give it 5-10 years of maturation, and there's a world where a California agave spirit is an incredible product people want. It cannot use the word tequila because of the denomination of origin. So in summary, the two key tenets of this theory that I have are the demand side, people wanting agave spirits, and maybe they call them tequila, maybe they call it mezcal, maybe they're already trying Raicilla, the Raisa La Venenosa, for instance. And then the supply side, which is that there's a ton of brands. They can't all be applying for additive-free status or for favor from the CRT. And as long as they're creating incredible products, regardless of denomination of origin, which I know sounds sacrilegious, the market will regulate itself.
Gosh, I wish that were true. I really do. And I don't think it is. And I don't think it is for a few reasons. First, sure. Well, I would never hit you unless you're in the car telling me how to drive. But
which I would never do. Because I love your driving, Lou. Your driving is like right up there with mine. Spectacular.
Okay, Roy, I'm going to need you to pull that out for the future ad as well. Now, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is all the conversations that I've had with my friends who own brands of uncertified agave spirits, stuff that, in the communities where it's made would be called mezcal, but because the Mexican government stole the word from the people, those families are no longer allowed to use that word in commerce. So
pin that. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, please.
The people can no longer use the term of their ancestors.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So that right there is a piece of information that if it were to have gotten out to the broader market of consumers might be enough to get these consumers to not care about that word mezcal. They might feel like it's co-opted anyway.
Well, I would argue that you are 100% correct with 1% of the market. Like, this is literally that phraseology I've been using now since at least 2013. And,
okay.
And I say that to some people and it absolutely hits them. I did this. I had a debate with a mezcal brand owner back in, I want to say it was 2019, 2018, something like that, in Chicago at the National Museum of Mexican Art. And he is somebody who was born and raised in Mexico, lives in the USA now. And so here I am, the white dude from rural Chicago, on the stage with him at the National Museum of Mexican Art in Pilsen, a community in Chicago traditionally populated by people of Mexican heritage. And boy, everybody at first was just assuming I was the bad guy because I was saying, don't call it mezcal if it's not mezcal. And once I said that, there were these women in front who looked like they were going to hang me. And once I said, the Mexican government stole the word, the families who have been shepherding the cultural heritage of mezcal for hundreds of years are no longer allowed to use that word. It was stolen from them. Suddenly they wanted to lynch the other guy.
Right.
Yeah. But that's, I think that is like a tiny little piece of the market. And, and maybe you're right. Okay. So maybe,
well, let me counterpoint you though. To push on that for a second. I do think that there's a PR thing, and you don't, brands are afraid.
Puerto Rican?
Yes, absolutely. Puerto Rican. No, so the brands are afraid, I think, right now, because there's this limbo. On one hand, there are movements like the additive-free movement, which very much go against what the CRT is willing to regulate. And on the other side is the fact that these brands need, or so they think, the CRT to tell them that they're tequila and allow them to export and things like that. Because, as you know, America consumes 80+% of tequila. So they need that denomination of origin, they think, so that they can be purchased in the US. They do need it to be called tequila. But again, I don't necessarily know that the word tequila matters. One of the things that I think would be helpful is if more people knew this. There are movements such as the additive-free movement that came out of nowhere in the last few years, heated up like wildfire, and is now a thing that even the layperson of agave, which I would call myself a layperson of whiskey or rum or wine, sure, the layperson of agave asks for. They say 100% tequila, 100% agave, and additive-free. Sometimes they use them synonymously, erroneously, but they know to ask for it. We had someone on our show who runs one of the largest online agave stores. And one of the things he told me was after Lalo, the brand Lalo came out, one of the things Lalo was saying, instead of additive free, which it is, was only 3 ingredients: water, agave, yeast. And they just kept saying that. This store owner had consumers coming to him and asking, oh, but is this brand only 3 ingredients, water, agave, yeast? So even on a micro level, there are trends that can take off. Your counterpoint would be, oh, but these are people already seeking agave. They're sure.
Well, yeah, and they're a tiny, I know the guy you're talking about. It's Adam, right?
No, it's not Adam.
Oh.
But actually, I wonder if Adam had heard the same thing. I should actually ask Adam that question. We've had quite a few brands and liquor store owners and things on our show. Quick plug for Techie Ladies. We're about to hit 150 episodes, and we do this every week, every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So 3 years. And we talk to a lot of people, and I do think the trends start, some die on the vine, so to speak, and others grow. Additive free was barely a thing when we started the show 3 years ago, and now it is one of the first questions that everybody in the comments is asking every week.
Yeah, but that's literally a community that you've nurtured. That's no offense, but tiny percentage of the consumers. So
absolutely, granted.
So, to go back to where I was headed, I talked to these friends of mine who own these brands of uncertified agave spirits. And for them, literally even talking to the buyers at liquor stores and at restaurants and bars, they get pushback. And there's this idea that, well, if it's not certified, there's something wrong with it. And I'm not suggesting that is all of the buyers, but I am saying that those are the most, in theory, most educated people who are going to be deciding what the average consumer has in front of them. And until
the average consumer dictates the market, right? Those are the people, those are the tastemakers who probably 5 years ago were buying more whiskey than tequila. And now the market dictates tequila and they're buying more tequila. So I would say that if the average consumer...
They're not buying more tequila.
They're buying more what? What are they buying?
They buy more whiskey than tequila.
But eventually they're going to have to buy more tequila because tequila is outpacing every single other spirit category.
Well, it's outpacing, but that suggests that it's not going to slow down. And in fact, we saw a little bit of slowdown. So I think that's maybe a trend. But more to the point, if you look at the numbers for, hang on, I've got them in front of me.
I know, I can see it flickering through your glasses, man.
Okay,
I see him leveling up. He's ready. But
So to go back to your point of California agave spirits, which I'm really excited about. Craig Reynolds is a good friend of mine.
Oh, he's awesome.
I love what they're doing. I love why they're doing it. I think it's great. But I'm going to instead look at California sparkling wine, right? So you've got in the sparkling wine as an umbrella category, you've got things like Prosecco, Champagne, German Sekt, Cava, something that I've never even heard of before called Franciacorta. Do you know that?
I don't know wine, so you can keep going. I barely know what Prosecco is versus Champagne.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but my point here is you've got California examples of sparkling wine. And when you look at the sales numbers from 2022, right? The leader in the category was Prosecco with 638.5 million bottles. And then you look at Champagne at 325.5 million bottles, almost half, right, of that. And then German Sekt. Have you ever heard of German? You've not, because you don't know wine, and I don't know wine.
You could be making it up right now. I wouldn't know.
Well, I wouldn't be making it up. This is from 750 Daily, so they'd be making it up. And they have certainly made up stuff in their charts before. So, but in looking at this, they've got German Sekt at 284.6 million bottles, which suggests to me that that's just Germans. But then Cava comes in at 249.1 million. California sparkling wine, 13.8 million. 13.8. So literally 5% of Prosecco.
You're actually proving my point. So keep going with the numbers. A few more, if you would.
Oh, sure. Okay. What else do you want? Do you want English sparkling wine?
Yeah, why not? Throw it all in there.
Okay, sure. That's 5.52 million bottles.
So, but on a percentage basis, how much is Champagne again?
Champagne is on a percentage basis against Prosecco or the whole market?
The whole market.
Okay, so just doing the numbers in my head quickly, it looks to me like Champagne is somewhere around, I'm going to say, a sixth of the market.
Okay. And would you say in this example, actually, I would say in this example that tequila is the Champagne in this example. Champagne has that denomination
I would
of
actually
origin.
say that tequila would be the Prosecco, given how big Prosecco is.
See, now, this is why I would say that it's the Champagne. Not knowing enough about wine to make this comparison perfectly intelligently. If you only stuck to denomination of origin, Champagne, in many ways, would be the tequila because that's the one that has the most restrictions on it. It's the one that has like a single location. Obviously, tequila has 5 states, but they're all within Mexico.
Well, Prosecco has the same.
Is Prosecco the same?
Yeah. Those are all denominations of origin.
And where can Prosecco be made?
Well, now I think that's Spain, but I would not swear to it. Let me do a quick search. Hang on a second. Prosecco is an Italian DOC.
Damn right. My people. My people. It's still in many circles, Prosecco is considered a lesser product. I hate to say that for my brethren and my ancestors, but a lot of people think Champagne is, quote, the Champagne of whatever. I had actually someone ask me if I would be a speaker at an event, and they said, and we really want you to bring the Champagne of tequila. And I was like, what's the Champagne of tequila? And they were like, well, the smoothest one. The point is, it's even used metaphorically, right? Like Champagne is the Champagne.
Yeah.
So regardless of which one we use in these examples and ignoring volume just to make the point, in one of these two, Champagne and Prosecco is tequila, and one of these two, Champagne and Prosecco, is California agave spirits, in my opinion, because they're accomplishing a similar thing at different scales. Now, if you looked at the different scale of when Prosecco and Champagne had origins, and maybe you look at the line graph of their growth, maybe we'd have a better idea of like which is California agave and which is tequila. But the point is, there's a market for both. And not everyone is always going to be asking for champagne, maybe because in their minds it's too expensive. Not everyone's going to be asking for Prosecco because maybe in their minds it's not, the champagne of sparkling wine, right? So to speak. But I think with tequila, it's all about what the consumer knows and what the consumer perceives, and whatever they perceive is reality. So if someone says to me 100% agave means additive free, they're wrong. But when they're standing in that aisle and they see 100% agave on a Casamigos or whatever that we know to have additives, to them, that's the best choice. And so I don't think as more brands get bigger and bigger and have a bigger footprint in tequila, and one of the things that we've noticed is these large brands, there's a lot of people pushing back on them. And like Casamigos, to stay on that example, recently laid off a ton of its workforce, unfortunately, a ton of its salespeople. And that's partially attributed to the underground movement that has now gotten a lot larger, which is additive free. I think that a lot of the terminology and a lot of the major players in the industry are going to start losing power in favor of some of these movements. Yes, it's only 1% of the market, and maybe even 1% is overblowing it. Maybe it's 1% of 1% of 1%. But these are 1% of the market that have hundreds of thousands, collectively millions of people listening to them. And it will take a while, but eventually people, after trying things, will realize, I don't mind that it's Prosecco instead of champagne. I don't mind that it's an agave spirit, California or not, maybe Mexican, instead of tequila. And I truly believe that in the next 10 years, Lou, when you invite me back on this show.
This is exactly where I was hoping we were gonna head. So we're gonna set a date. We should have a bet.
I'll make it even 5 years. I think in 5 years it won't have turned upside down yet, but I think the trend will be there macro.
Okay, so
do you want to align it with presidential terms? Do you want to do it again in the next general election year, just to make it easy to remember? I just discounted myself by another 25%.
Only that's awesome. 20%. So if we agree to watch the debates together in 2028,
sure,
and we don't talk about this issue, we bring it up in the car, and then you can tell me to put a pin in it, and then we record another episode in 4 years, right?
Yes.
And if I'm looking at, let me pull
here are
this
the terms
up.
though. The terms are winner gets to drive.
No, that's not going to happen. So, have you ever driven in Mexico?
I have driven in Jersey, which is far more difficult.
Okay, well, we can talk about that. So, I'm a little bit of a control freak when it comes to automobiles. Anyway, if I'm looking right now at the sales in foreign sales, export sales of mezcal.
See, sales is the wrong term. Sales is the wrong term. You want to know what the right term is?
Placements.
Google word search. I'm serious. Okay. And look at the search growth of the term tequila and the volume, we'll say, of the term tequila, and then the growth of the word agave spirit.
Second. Yeah, no, I'm not buying into that. That suggests that somehow people's behavior patterns have anything to do with what they say, and that's never the case.
Well, no, the reason why is because I think that tequila is going to maintain its prominence in the market in the short term. I'd consider 4 years to be the short term, but consumers will be more knowledgeable and poised to perhaps, if given the choice, which they won't yet be given in 4 years, choose agave over tequila.
Okay, so you don't want to look. I can't, like, that number I don't have handy, but I do have handy the number of exports, the percentage of exports.
Well, guess what? I just pulled it up. I have it right now. Google lets you look at this stuff, and you can look at over the past 5 years. The word I'm searching the term agave spirit. Okay. And actually I put agave spirits, but I should put agave spirit. That's probably better. And so over the past 5 years, it has grown. And if you look by states, how much it's grown in Hawaii, which actually might be the next frontier, really. It's 100% interest. Maine, 100. New Mexico.
But it doesn't tell you what it is with respect to. Does it give you total number of searches?
There's different ways to read the data, so we can have like a whole conversation about how we'd want to sort of break it up. But if I could, I would share my screen with you. There's a trend, and basically for anyone listening and obviously not looking at either of our screens, the trend is that it's sort of crescendoing up from around 21 to 24. It's crescendoing up. The term agave spirit as a drink. So
I don't know what that means, 21 to 24.
The year 2021 to the year 2024.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. And so, yeah, like I don't know how they're doing this. Like they're doing percentages and things, but the point is on a macro level, it is certainly growing quite a bit. And I think as that grows further and people get more comfortable with the term, it'll be something that they can request in the marketplace.
So when I'm looking at the numbers of actual exports from the CRM / Comercam from 2011 to 2023, right?
Sure.
If you look at the spirits that were exported that were not certified as anything, in 2011 it was 7% of what was exported. If this is not including tequila, right? Mm-hmm. So it was 7%, not including tequila or bacanora. So it was 7%. And today in 2020, well, yesterday, 2023, it was 11.1%. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is you tell me what that number is going to be in 2027.
2027. So now we've discounted me again.
Well, no, because it's going to give us that
It's
number.
on a 1-year lag.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is if you look at the trend of the term mezcal
I'm saying is I want to know what the number is. Just give me a number.
Well, if I knew the number, don't you think that I'd be able to hedge the market and therefore be a billionaire?
Yes, and that's what I expect of you in 2028 so that we can have a much more fun trip. If this is going to be a bet, it has to be based on something other than it's trending upward, because of course it's going to trend upward, right?
Well, that's not necessarily true, of course. What I'm saying is I think we should look at the CAGR of the compound.
We're going to have a CAGR?
I mean, come on. You know what a CAGR is. It's a compound annual growth rate.
Oh,
you take the final value, you put it over the beginning value, and then you put it to the exponent of, I think, well, it depends if we're looking at years or months, but you put it over 1 divided by term, and then you subtract 1 from it, and that's the CAGR. And basically what it does, it takes an average growth rate over time. So if we would took 4 years and we said, okay, let's look at the CAGR of agave spirits as a term, and then you and I can take a guess and say, hey, I think it's going to be over 20%, and you say under 20%, that could be the bet. It's much simpler.
That's what I'm saying. Give me a number.
Of the CAGR of mezcal or the CAGR of... I would need some time to figure this out because I have to take a guess. But to be honest, like I don't have any incentive here. I'm not going to be able to drive the car.
So here's my bet to you, right?
Okay, hit me.
I'm gonna get in touch with one of my mezcalero friends, probably Emmanuel Ramos. I'm gonna have him bury 5 liters of what's your favorite agave for making mezcal.
Ooh, I'm just starting to learn about it. But what was the one that Indio Alonso did that said that makes you happy?
Oh, that was the Salmiana.
Salmiana. Let's go with Salmiana.
Okay, so I'll have him, the next time he makes a batch of Salmiana, I'll have him bury it. We will dig it up on our trip into, now, there's the smile. We'll dig it up in 2028. And if I win the bet, I get to drink it all without you. If you win the bet, you get to drink it all without me.
I wouldn't dream of it. It's way more fun with friends.
If I win the bet, I share it with you, but I get to belittle you the entire time we're drinking. If you win the bet, you share it with me, you take home whatever's left, and you belittle me the entire time.
If I win the bet, you have to drink the number of ounces the kegger is. And I then am guaranteed to drive the vehicle home.
Yeah, that would be fairly accurate. Okay, you are on. Done and done.
Actually, that's a great bet in general because it proves that, I believe in the kegger here.
Yeah, it does. It also proves that you believe that after more than 2 ounces, I'm not very good at driving a vehicle, whether we're in Mexico or anywhere else. Which
not that you're not very good, just that the difference between you driving sober and driving after 2 is significant, which it actually isn't, I'm sure. I'm playing myself.
Okay. I think that unless you've got something else to add, I think we can call that a wrap, Marissa.
Yeah, I think again, what makes conversations with you so fun is, one, I think there's data coming behind it, but there's also really informed and respectful opinions. Obviously, we banter, and that makes it fun. But I believe every time we talk, even if I don't end in agreement with you, I end learning something. So thank you for that.
Oh no, right back at you. It was great fun and a great pleasure traveling with you a couple weeks ago, last week, couple weeks.
A few weeks back. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I keep getting asked questions about that trip. And my takeaway is the amount that I learned in that short a time was outstanding. And the amount of respect that I gained, not just for some of the brands that we visited, but just for your approach was again, like unparalleled. I didn't know what to expect. I thought just go in with an open mind. That's what you'd asked of me. And it is one of my favorite trips for sure of my life, and certainly one of the most impactful.
Oh, that's really kind. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, well then let's do it again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. As we say on my show, I'll see you next Tuesday. No, we say I'll see you next and every Tuesday.
Next and every. That's better. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Roy, play that backwards because that actually is a word that we don't want on our show.
Yes, you're right. It's kind of spicy one.
Okay, Marissa, I will catch you next episode. Hasta pronto.
See ya.
You've been listening to Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. We're blessed with sound engineering by Roy Sierra and a theme song performed by Gabriel Oliveira and Marco Ricos. Sign up to become a road tripper and listen to more episodes at agaveroadtrip.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. And if you hated it, well, I'm sure you'll let us know that too. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip is a production of 10 Angry Pit Bulls, Inc. Agave Road Trip is powered by Simplecast. Thank you for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. To subscribe to the Heritage Radio newsletter, enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with Heritage Radio Network on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find Heritage Radio Network at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization using the power of educational storytelling about food to build a more equitable, resilient food system. Heritage Radio Network couldn't do that without support from listeners like you. Become a part of the world's most innovative community today. Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends. And please join the Heritage Radio Network family by becoming a member. To become a member of the Heritage Radio Network, click on the beating heart of our homepage. Heritage Radio Network can become addictive. Programming you hear on Heritage Radio Network might lead you to eat, drink, and listen to more programming on Heritage Radio Network. If you drink, please do not drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Drive responsibly. Eat responsibly too. And listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly. To listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly, wear protective earbuds. While wearing protective earbuds, do not drive. Do not walk either. Sit in a comfortable chair. If that comfortable chair has a hard seat, please remember to stretch every 30 minutes. If you stretch every 30 minutes, please stay within your defined stretching capacity. And consult a doctor who specializes in stretching. If you don't have a doctor, maybe Dr. Ryan Acock, the Cocktail MD, can help you out. Thanks for listening. Agave Road Trip out.
Hey listeners, thank you so much for listening to HRN. We want to make your experience as a listener even better, and to help us do that, we'd love your input on our audience survey. It'll only take a few minutes, and by completing it, you can enter to win a $250 gift card from Goldbelly. Visit heritageradionetwork.org/survey to take the survey and to help us keep growing and improving. That's heritageradionetwork.org/survey. Thanks for your support.